Since we're celebrating a rebrand on the channel this week featuring all the Eeveelutions, I thought it would be nice to do a theme best team centered around the 8 Eeveelutions available for use. If you guys remember my theme best teams covering all the typings from a little while back, then you'll know how I like to do things with these kind of teams. I built this with the idea of it being used in the anything goes tier, and it actually will be using 8th generation rules and moves. I'll admit that being in the 8th gen, it feels like the Eeveelutions were crippled a little bit, and unfortunately Umbreon more than the rest. However, I didn't want to lock this into the previous generation, so I did my best when building the team, and came up with an interesting theme for it to make the team somewhat successful. Also, just to address this before you guys get through the video and mention it in the comments, I am not going to be Dynamaxing any of these Pokemon. So to open up this team, we're going to start with, of course, Umbreon. Like I mentioned before, Umbreon takes a pretty big hit in Gen 8, as Toxic is no longer available for everyone to learn via TM or even TR. Since you can no longer Toxic stall with Umbreon as of now, I had to come up with a new idea for it. As everyone knows, Umbreon is actually a special defensive wall, and I'm still planning on keeping it that way. It'll continue to have Synchronize for an ability, so if any status condition is inflicted upon it, the opponent will end up suffering from it as well. I'm also using the Rocky Helmet on Umbreon, so whenever it gets hit with a physical move that directly connects the opponent, it'll lose a 6 of its max HP. Since I want Umbreon to still act as a special defensive wall, I'll of course be giving it 2 of the 2 Eevees in special defense and HP, and give it the calm nature to boost that special defense even more. With those boosts, Umbreon will see its special defense hit a whopping 394, and its HP will be at 394 as well. As I've already said, Umbreon just can't reach its full potential in Generation 8, but let's be honest, there is no way I could put this team together without featuring it. Let's move on to the moves and see just what I can do to make Umbreon befitting of a best team. The 4 moves I have picked out for Umbreon are Taunt, Protect, Wish, and Foul Play. We open things up with Taunt, which takes place of Toxic on this set. Taunt is a move that will prevent the opponent from using a non-attacking move for up to 4 turns. The effect of Taunt will inevitably help keep Umbreon from worrying about being poisoned or burned, and thus chipped away at. But also, if you can get a Taunt off, you'll be able to prevent anyone else from taunting Umbreon right back. The rest of this set is very much like the usual Umbreon moveset, featuring Protect and Wish in a combo to help regain HP every few turns. Usually you'd want to do this quite often with Umbreon out because you're stalling out Toxic, but this time you're doing it so you can keep regaining the health you'll be losing against physical attackers. The Rocky Helmet comes in big here, and is the stand-in for chip damage of no Toxic, so you'll definitely take a lot of damage, but it will be alright as long as you use Wish strategically. Finally, we've got Foul Play, which is base 95, but is pushed up to 142 base power thanks to Stab, and the move takes into account the opponent's attack stat in damage calculation. This set is the best we've got for Umbreon in Gen 8, and it should still be decent, I guess. Things are getting a little hot next as I'm featuring Flareon on this team. Flareon and Umbreon sort of stand aside from the main idea of this team, but when it comes to this fiery monster, you've got more of an attacker. Flareon has got 2 abilities to work with, and I decided to take the more interesting one in the battle, Guts. Guts will give Flareon a 1.5 times boost to its attack if it ends up statused. The easiest status to have work with Guts is Burn, but naturally you aren't going to be able to burn a fire type, so you have to rely on someone paralyzing or poisoning Flareon to get the most of this ability. Disregarding that though, Flareon is already going to be hitting incredibly hard, so it isn't too big of a deal if it doesn't end up taking advantage of its Guts ability. Now I'm sure you're asking yourself just how hard Flareon will actually be able to hit. Well, it's got a base 130 attack, and between that and the HP, I'll be dishing out 2 Eevees to both with the Adamant nature. Those additions will improve those stats to 394 and 334 respectively. But that's not all, as I also included the Choice Band for Flareon as well. The Choice Band gives Flareon a 1.5 times boost to attack, but it will be locked into the first move it uses in battle for as long as it will be on the field. When we add on this band boost, Flareon's attack will shoot up even higher to 591, making it a force to be reckoned with. Flareon's moveset is Flare Blitz, Fire Fang, Superpower, and Body Slam. Flare Blitz is the strongest move that Flareon has to use with a stab boosted 180 base power. The move is going to be a hard-hitting option for the Eeveelution, but it does come at a cost. Every time it connects to Flare Blitz, Flareon will lose 33% of its total HP. This move is a strong option that even had a 10% chance to burn the opponent, but I decided to include Fire Fang as well, just in case some of you don't want your only stab move to be something that does so much damage to the user. Generation 8 took away a few options for Flareon, so doubling up on stab seemed like the best choice. Fire Fang has a stab boosted 97 base power, with a 10% chance to burn or flinch the opponent, or possibly even both. Superpower is next, and with a move like it, you won't need to worry too much about rock types. Superpower is 120 base power, and will smash any rock types that come up on Flareon. Though just with a single usage, you'll be lowering its attack and defense by a stage, so you may want to switch out of the battle upon using it. Finally, you have a choice between Double Edge and Body Slam, whichever you feel more comfortable using. Double Edge is a stronger move at 120 base power, but it will cost Flareon 33% of its health in the same vein as Flare Blitz, while Body Slam is only 85 base power, but it also carries a 30% chance to paralyze the opponent. Either way, I don't think you could really go wrong with either choice. So now with those two Pokemon out of the way, we'll start on the 4 Pokemon who make the true core of this team. Jolteon speeds in next, and as you guys know, I'm also a fan of just how good Jolteon can be. As I've mentioned and mentioned again, Sword and Shield seem to go out of its way to hurt the usage of any evolutions, as with the Hidden Power Ice, Jolteon suffers from being unable to do super effective damage to its only weakness. But that's gonna be alright. Jolteon still has access to Volt Absorb, which will heal back a quarter of its health whenever it gets hit with an electric type move. And I'm giving it the Focus Sash, which will allow it to survive one attack from full health no matter what. If you've been paying attention to the stats of the previous 2 evolutions, then you probably noticed that they all seem to have a pair of stats that start at the base 130 and 110. And in the case of Jolteon, those two are speed and special attack respectively. And I'll be giving the 252 Eevees to both of those. Jolteon's special attack goes up to 319, and thanks to the Timid nature, its speed will reach 394 as well. Its speed being that high is incredibly important, because with this plan I have devised, you'll need to get off 2 moves quickly. But don't get it twisted. Jolteon should still be able to fight on its own, if need be, with a very solid special attack stat that I definitely try my best to take advantage of. Jolteon's moveset will open up with Agility and Baton Pass, and then be followed by Discharge and Shadow Ball. Agility is what you'll want to turn to immediately on your first turn, doubling Jolteon's speed, with just 1 usage to bring it up to 788. Now that you're able to outspeed everything and survive the single attack, you'll be able to use Baton Pass on your next turn. Baton Pass is usually banned from normal play, hence why I made this team for the Anything Goes tier on Showdown. I don't want to spoil the next member on the team, so I'll get more into the next part of this plan after we get to it. The next move is Discharge, and it's a good stab move that is here just in case you have to abandon the plan I've created for this team. Every Pokemon a part of this plan has at least got a single move that will make it usable on its own, just in case things get too dicey. Discharge has a boosted 120 base power, and a 30% chance to paralyze the opponent if it connects, definitely giving Jolteon a more than reliable move to battle on its own with. Finally, there is Shadow Ball, which is honestly the only move I could really give it that did any sort of damage, and wasn't just another electric type move. I like to echo what I said earlier. Hidden Power being left out of Sword and Shield is a big loss for competitive play, and not having it to include on this Jolteon set is incredibly unfortunate. Shadow Ball isn't a bad move, being at 80 base power and having a 20% chance to lower the opponent's special defense, but it's still a shame that there weren't more options for a Pokemon like Jolteon to turn to. Following Jolteon on the team, and hopefully in battle, if my devised plan goes well, is the final piece of this first generation trifecta, Vaporeon. Vaporeon is yet another bulky evolution with wall potential, this time focusing on having an incredibly high HP stat. It made sense as a next step in this plan, as I'll be able to focus on bringing up defenses to again be Baton Pass out to a different evolution. Vaporeon's item is going to be Leftovers, which will restore a 16th of its max HP at the end of each turn, giving it potential to last out on the battlefield if need be. It also has 2 very viable abilities in Water Absorb and Hydration. However, since the odds of rain being set up on the field in a battle isn't too likely, I went with Water Absorb in the end. When I'm going through these next few Pokemon, I will be treating their stats as if they haven't been Baton Passed into. But just keep in mind that in line with my plan, Vaporeon would have its speed doubled right now. As I touched upon just prior, Vaporeon is very bulky in regard to its HP, so I gave it 252 Eevees in that, and another 252 into its speed. Since Vaporeon will also be using Baton Pass due to its part in my plan, I had to make sure it had good speed even before possibly doubling it. Adding in those boosts, Vaporeon will have a fat 464 HP and 251 in speed, which could turn into 502 if it gets the boost from agility thanks to Jolteon. Acid Armor, Baton Pass, Protect, and Scald are the 4 moves that come together to form Vaporeon's moveset. So let's just say you have managed to get into Vaporeon successfully with the agility boost. Well, next thing you're going to want to do is go for Acid Armor, and thankfully, you should be outspeeding anything you're out against. Acid Armor doubles the defense stat, and after getting one of those, you should be able to have another turn at least at your disposal, allowing you to get off yet another Baton Pass to head into our next evolution, which we will get to shortly. I included Protect next, just in case you want to try testing the waters before throwing up the Acid Armor and Baton Passing, or perhaps serve as a fake out if you want to Acid Armor, and then Protect and make your opponent think you might not be using Baton Pass again. It's purely a filler move that can do more good than harm, so don't think about it too much. Finally, I've got Scald, which is here just in case you have no choice but to fight with Vaporeon. Scald has got a boosted 120 base power, and a 30% chance to cause a burn, which can always come in handy as a status element in battle. The next Pokemon on the team, and probably the biggest part of the strategy, is a poster child for Fairy-type Pokemon, Sylveon. Sylveon is a fantastic Pokemon, and the fact that I have included it here, more so as a bridge to the final Pokemon with Baton Pass, might make a few people scratch their heads. But believe me when I say it'll be all worth it in the end. Sylveon has got itself one of the best abilities in the game, Pixelate, which will turn all normal type moves it uses into the Fairy type, as well as give them a 1.2 times power boost. That's honestly nothing to sneeze at. It makes Sylveon still incredibly scary, even if you don't go through with my strategy. It's got the cute term ability as well, but that isn't anywhere near as effective as Pixelate, so I decided not to use cute term this time around. I've also given the Wiki Berry, which will restore its health by 33% whenever it drops below half. Sylveon is a great special attacker and is quite bulky on the special side defensively too, so I decided it would be best to give those two stats to the two Eevees, along with a Modest Nature to really take advantage of Sylveon's abilities. Keep this in mind, if you're able to successfully Baton Pass through Vaporeon and Jolteon, you'll have yourself a Sylveon that has 312 speed and 332 defense. So once you go up to 359 special defense and 350 special attack, having so many stats exceeded 300 is pretty impressive. And they'll only be going up thanks to what I've given Sylveon. The potential here for Sylveon itself to be the deadliest Pokemon on the squad is already here, but believe me, I'm totally pushing the envelope even further. So I've got Calm Mind, Baton Pass, Hyper Voice, and PSYSHOCK, making up this moveset for Sylveon. Calm Mind is the final piece of this puzzle, but unlike with Agility and Acid Armor, we have got to try to pull off 2 Calm Mind usages before Baton passing into the final member of the team. Calm Mind only raises special attack and special defense by a single stage with each use, so we're going to end up needing 3 turns to make it work right. Sylveon's speed being at 312 is pretty solid, so it should be able to outspeed quite a few Pokemon still. But this is where the Wiki Berry comes into play, as there is a good chance that regardless of the boosted defenses Sylveon will have on both ends, it'll still take a bit of damage. Thankfully, it shouldn't be all that bad. And after you have 2 Calm Minds set up, you'll be using Baton Pass. However, if you even up staying in with Sylveon and get a single Calm Mind up, you'll end up at 538 special defense and 525 special attack, and those will definitely help turn Sylveon into a major pain for the opponent. Hyper Voice is affected by Pixelate and will end up being boosted to 162 base power, giving you an excellent option and offense against just about any other Pokemon. PSYSHOCK is merely here for backup, just in case you have to deal with a poison type Pokemon popping up and threatening you, taking into the account the opponent's regular defensive stat and having a solid 80 base power to boot. Now we are on to the final Pokemon of this Eeveelutions best team, the main weapon of my entire plan, Espeon. While so many of these Eeveelutions have been absolutely ruined by the removal of moves in Gen 8, Espeon has nothing to worry about. It's still got a great move pool, and thanks to the Baton Passes put into place before its appearance in the battlefield, it'll only really need to turn to a single move. Magic Bounce is the ability I've given Espeon, so you don't even need to worry about being burned, poisoned, or paralyzed, or even put to sleep, eliminating an entire countermeasure that would have definitely made this plan all the more difficult to bring to fruition. When it comes to stats, obviously Espeon should already have its speed, defense, special defense, and special attack doubled. That being said, I'm giving it 232 EVs in speed and special attack, and making it Timid Nature, which will bring those stats to 350 and 359. If we add in the boost from successfully Baton Passing to this point, Espeon will have 700 speed, 312 defense, 454 special defense, and 718 attack. Those are some massive numbers, but they're not just staying like that. No, I'm going a little off the rails here and giving Espeon the choice specs, which will lock it into whatever move it goes for first, but also make its special attack shoot up even further, all the way up to 1077. Finally, we have reached this epic moveset, and it opens up with Stored Power, and is followed by PSYSHOCK, Dazzling Gleam, and Shadow Ball. Those 3 latter moves really don't matter all that much, as Stored Power is a star here. Stored Power starts as a 20 base power move, but will gain another 20 for every single stage of stat boost that Espeon has going on. In the case of all that we've done, it'll have 8 stages worth of boosts to its stats, thus putting Stored Power at 180 base power. However, remember that Espeon is a Psychic type, thus meaning Stored Power will be boosted further by Stab, putting it at 270 power. Suddenly, an opponent will be staring down an Espeon with a special attack stat over 1000 with a move like Stored Power. I'd be absolutely terrified to be on the opposite end of that encounter. The other 3 moves, like I said, don't particularly matter, but I'll quickly go over them. PSYSHOCK has 120 base power when boosted from Stab, and uses the opponent's defense when doing damage instead of their special defense. Dazzling Gleam is 80 base power, and is there for coverage as a Fairy type move against Dark types, if you end up running into that issue. Shadow Ball is base 80, and has a 20% chance to lower the opponent's special defense, and this is really only on the set because Espeon needed a 4th move. I understand the Dark typing is really the only thing that can avoid being stopped by Espeon, but you should obviously be prepared for any Dark types since you'll be able to see the opponent's team prior to battle anyway. So I'd assume you'd be able to handle any Dark challenge before even having Espeon out and set up. So that's going to do it for the best team for Eeveelutions. And while it was challenging, it was a lot of fun to come up with this baton pass strategy. I hope you guys enjoyed this week of Eeveelutions and the new graphics here on the channel. If you guys use this team, be sure to let me know in the comments of how it worked for you. And if you guys have any changes, definitely let me know in the comments below as well. Also be sure to let me know what best Eeveelution team you guys would use. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on, that way you never miss an upload. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitch where I stream a lot of Pokemon content and all kinds of other Nintendo content like Zelda, Fire Emblem, and much more. Also, I've been reviewing every episode of My Hero Academia Season 4 over on Mystic Sage, so head over there if you're into that too. I would love that a lot. Want to support me further and gain cool perks? Check out my Patreon. Daniel Leone, Lady Crimson, Memory Martin, The Lazy Leo, Matthew Young, Awesome Lego, Jarrett Weiss Austin, Sudden Grider, and Enigma97 did, and I want to thank them personally for going above and beyond. It means the world to me. I think I'm gonna wrap this up though. I'm Mr. Umbreon, and I will see you in the future for more awesome Pokemon content.